For 2.1, we're looking at GCF, which means greatest common factor, and trinomial factoring. So here's some key vocabulary you need to know, and these are on your guided notes. Factor are numbers we can multiply to get another number. Our GCF is our greatest common factor, and a trinomial is an expression that has three terms. For example, 2x squared plus 3x plus 1. So we're going to start with example 1, factor out the GCF from each expression and rewrite. So once again, our GCF is our greatest common factor. So we want to look to see what is the biggest number that goes into both 10 and 4. And in this case, that is 2. So I'm going to take 2 out of each of those and put it in front and have these parentheses. When we're taking out a GCF, it's like we're dividing. So to get what goes in my parentheses, because I took 2 out, I'm dividing 10 by 2, which would be 5, and then there's that x. And then we took 2 out, so I divide that 4 by 2. That is a positive 2. There's no other number that goes into both 5x and 2, so this is our factored expression. B, we have 8x cubed minus 4x squared. Now in this case, we know that 4 can go into both 8x cubed and 4x squared. But we also have x's in both of those. So we can also factor out x's. Because we have an x cubed and an x squared, we can take x squared out. So when we take that 4x squared out, 8 divided by 4 is 2, and we took 2 of our x's away. So now we have just 2x minus 4 divided by 4 is 1, and we factored that x squared out, so that is all our term has. Here is a challenge one. I want you to pause and think about what our GCF is. One thing that makes this one a little challenging, we want our leading coefficient, which is this -16, to be positive. So in order to make that leading coefficient positive, we have to factor out a negative. Now we look, what number goes into 16, 24, and 32? That number would be 8. Now, when we look at our variables, we have for our x's, x cubed, x squared, and x to the 4th. Since they each have an x, we can factor out an x. Now for our exponent, we're going to factor out the smallest exponent, which is that 2. Now when we look at our y's, we have y squared, y cubed, and y. Each term has a y, so we can factor out a y, and our smallest exponent is that y on the end, So that's the one we take out. Remember, if it doesn't have an exponent, the exponent's 1. So we factor out negative 16 divided by negative 8 is a positive 2. We took out 2 x's, so we're left with 1x. We took out 1y, so we have that 1y. Positive 24 divided by negative 8 is negative 3. We took out x's, so there's no more x's there. We took out 1y, so we still have y squared. And then negative 32 divided by negative 8 is positive 4. For our x's, we took out 2, so we still have x squared. And then we took out all the y's, so there are no y's. Now we're going to factor using the x method. So, looking at our steps, step 1, list the factors of the first term, including variables. So our first term is b squared. So the factors, in order to get b squared, that would be b times b. So that was step 1, and we put those on the left side. Once again, how I got that is b times b equals b squared. Then we have our b's here. Step 2, list the factors of the last term. So to get 7, we can multiply 1 times 7. And that's the only factors. We're going to list those on the right. Step 3, so we have b, and 1 times 7. Multiply the terms that are diagonal from each other. So b times 7 equals b to the 7th. So once again, where I got that, I did b times 7. That gave us b, and we multiply the terms that are diagonal from each other. We want our products to add up to the middle term. So b times 7 gives us 7b. b times 1 gives us 1b. And when we add those together, that gives us 8b. That gives us 8b. Step 4, if our products do not add up to the middle term, we need to try another pair of factors until we reach the correct answer. We got the correct answer, so step 5 is write your answer as 2 factors in parentheses. So the order, we go left to right. So b, that's a positive 7, so positive 1, so plus 1, and then times b plus 7. And this would be our factored answer. Example 2, factor the trinomial using the x method. So I've already drawn my x. So my factors for x squared, I'm going to list them. Well, x times x, and that's it. Now for our second term, make sure to include that negative. So negative 56. That tells me I need a positive and a negative number. So one possibility is negative 7 times positive 8. So I'm going to put those in. and then we multiply diagonally. So x times 8 is 8x, and x times negative 7 is negative 7x. Now if I add a positive 8x and a negative 7x, I get positive x. We wanted a negative x. So that combination doesn't work, but we're not too far off. We just needed a negative x instead of a positive x. So I'm going to try switching my signs. So that pair didn't work. I'm going to try positive 7 times negative 8. So I'm going to change my signs now here. So we're going to make positive 7 and negative 8. So x times negative 8 is negative 8x, and then x times 7x is positive 7x, and negative 8x plus 7x gives us negative x. So that's my pairing. And remember, we group them across. So x plus 7 is one of our pairings, and then x times, or x minus 8 is our other one. Let me ignore these in the middle because that's just me showing my work. So for this example, I've already listed out my factors to save some time in the video. So if you're wondering where these factors came from for x squared, x times x gives us x squared, and those are our only possible factors. So I'm going to put those in on my left side. For positive 64, these are our possible factors. So when I multiply all those pairs, they will give me 64. You might be wondering, well, Miss, how do I know which pair it's going to be? You can trial and error it, or remember, we want these pairs to equal positive 16. So if I go through and add these, as opposed to multiplying them, I would get 65, 34, 20, and 16. And 16 is the one that we want. So that right there is our pair. So 8 and 8. Because 8 times 8 gives us 64, and 8 plus 8 gives us 16. Now this won't work on every factoring example, but for the ones we're working with in 2.1, it will. So just to double check, if we take x times 8, that's going to give us 8x. If we take x times 8, that's going to give us 8x. And then if we add those, we get 16x, which is what we wanted. So now we can write our pairs. So we go from left to right when we write our pairs. X plus 8 times x plus 8. Those are our pairs. Remember, if you have any questions, make a note to ask in class.